good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you are doing well on this beautiful sunny day, at least where I am. I hope it's sunny where you are. Um, I was asked a question from my best friend, and I want to answer this question the best way I can. She asked, um, about what it was like to make friends and relate to people when I was younger and going through the things that I was going through. So, first of all, friends. I didn't have any. And I didn't have any because, due to the many, many times that the police were at our house weekly for the domestic violence between my mom and stepdad, we were known as the crazy house. Um, and my brother and I were the crazy kids in school. And so, kids in our neighborhood and school were told by their parents to stay away from us and to be scared of us. And um, like basically, we were just treated like we were full of disease. And somehow my brother was able to still make friends, and I don't know how, but again, I'm not really going to talk about him, but um, I tried so hard to make friends. I tried so hard. I so badly wanted a friend. Um, but you got to remember, if you've watched previous videos, but if you have not, my mom cut my long, beautiful hair into a bowl cut on the top of my head, because she got mad at me because a kind little old lady complimented me and my hair. And my mom was a narcissist, so she was always in competition with me, and she couldn't handle that this woman just went on and on and on about how beautiful my hair was. My mom made an excuse to chop it off. And so that also combined with the fact that I was wearing Goodwill clothes that were not in style, didn't match, didn't fit me correctly. They were either way too big or way too small. They were stained, some had holes. Um, it just, I looked like a dork. I did not look like somebody that a kid would want to be associated with. I didn't have all the cool things that kids had. I didn't have any of the popular stuff that was going on. I mean, I did have a trapper keeper, so I was kind of cool. I mean, but that as far as everything else, like I didn't have what kids had. So, that combined with being the crazy kid in the crazy house, you know, nobody my age wanted anything to do with me. And the few times that kids would pretend to be my friend, it was just to make me think that they were actually my friend, just to end up hurting me, to end up um, just doing, if you've ever seen the movie Mean Girls, yeah, just doing stuff like that. Just not with the sexual stuff though, because it was grade school, junior high. Um, by high school, I had a friend or two, but anyway. Um, so eventually, when I was 10, I had a lot of stuff happen to me when I was 10. But anyway, when I was 10, I met this girl who was a lot younger than me. Um, so she was like 6, I think. I don't know. I don't remember how young she was, but she was hanging out with a girl who the only other kid that I knew at the time that was being abused. Um, and she was being horrifically sexually abused by her father. And the whole neighborhood knew it, and nobody did anything to stop it. And this poor girl just, oh, it was just awful. And he knew he could get away with all of the things that he did, and he was just horrendous. But anyway, I saw this kid. I'm gonna call her Kay. Um, I saw her with this other kid, Jay. And I was scared for Kay because I knew what Jay's dad was doing to her, and I didn't want Kay to possibly become a victim. So I remember I went up to Kay and, I kind of, like, I asked if, like, her and Jay wanted to go play, like, I don't know, somewhere like down the street or something, or go down to the school because we weren't that far away from the school, and go play on the playground or whatever. To which we all did. We went down there and we played. And I got to know Kay, and even though she was so much younger than me, she was a sweet kid. And um like she seemed, she acted older than what she, like, she was like an old soul kind of person. So even though she was 6 or 7, she didn't really act like 6 or 7. She acted more like 8. I don't know, whatever. But she had a really cool mom, and like, she had a good life. So she had a good upbringing, which allowed her to be more independent and not so childlike, because she was able to, make her own decisions in a lot of ways. But anyway, um, I got to know her over a few weeks, and we ended up becoming friends. So I would say at 10 years old, my first real friend was a child of, but she was like between 5 and 7. I don't remember exactly how old she was. Like, between 5 and 7, I'd say probably more towards 5 or 6. I don't really remember, honestly. I really don't. But we would play Barbie dolls. We would just, we'd make like mud pies, and we'd mix concoctions, like kids like to do with, like different things. Like, we just did fun stuff despite the age difference. I didn't care that I should have had an older friend and that I shouldn't be playing with Barbie dolls. Or, I mean, I don't know. There's a mix of decisions. Like, some people say 10 is too old for Barbie dolls, and some people say 10 is just fine for Barbie dolls. But I actually didn't stop playing with my Barbies till I was probably 12 or 13, honestly, because my Barbies helped me to escape to a world that I could be safe and have the life that I wanted to. So I'm not really ashamed to admit that I played Barbies later than I probably should have. But anyway, so we just spent a lot of time playing Barbies, and um, we did each other's hair, and we painted each other's nails, and we had a lot of fun. It was like having a little sister. I I really enjoyed the friendship I had with her because she was she was like a little sister. And um when she would come over to my house, I would make sure that Dave was not there, and that he wasn't going to be home like anytime soon. And if he did show up sooner than I realized he was going to, I immediately made sure that Kay and I left the house, because I didn't want Kay to be exposed to Dave, because Dave was an unpredictably violent person, And I didn't want him to hurt her in any way, shape, or form. And I didn't want her to witness him hurting me because I honestly don't think he would have cared if he beat me in front of somebody else. So I did my very best to protect Kay as much as I could. And Kay's mom was definitely bothered at the fact that there's a 10-year-old that is playing with her much younger child. Um, and this just totally broke me when I found out about this. And as a kid, I couldn't understand why this stuff was being asked and why she would even think this way, because it was like so vilely disgusting because this stuff had happened to me. So why would I do it to somebody else? But Kay's mom asked her if I was doing anything inappropriate with her. Like, was I touching her? Was I making her do anything she didn't want to do? Was I, you know, inappropriate in any way? And of course, Kay said, no, we have fun. We play Barbies. We do each other's hair. We don't paint nails. She doesn't do anything like that, like, and I guess Kay was asked several different times in several different ways from her mom and her dad and a few other people, because how dare a 10-year-old have a friendship with a person who's younger? I mean, I understand it's weird. I understand how it looks, especially in today's world. But in the 80s, given my situation and how my life was, there was okay, I was going to say there was nothing weird about it, but that's not true. It was weird. It was weird to be 10 playing with a child. I knew that was weird. But she was the only person that saw me for me and not what everybody else victimized me to be. So I'm I it's conflicting. So while I'm embarrassed now that I had a friend that was so young, I'm also not, because I know what my situation was like and I know how hard it was to find a real friend. And Kay, despite her being so much younger, was a real friend. And I knew as an older person that I needed to be careful of things I talked about and like not to lay my problems on her, and because she was still a child. And I really treated her like a little sister, minus, the fighting and things that siblings do. And in some ways, I kind of treated her like she was my child, because in some ways, I felt like, this is how I would mother a child, like I can't really explain it. And it probably sounds even more weird than it's meant to. But anyway, um, so that is my experience of my first real friend. Um, when I went to live with my dad at 13, obviously, Kay and my friendship became strained because she stayed back on the street that I had lived on with my mom, and I had moved to an entire new county. Um, and so we still called each other, and my dad would still go pick her up every few weekends, and she'd come spend the night, and we'd have a sleepover, and or I would go to her house and whatnot. But it just wasn't as often as it was when I had lived there. And her mom eventually came around to see me for who I really was, and that I really had no intentions of hurting Kay in any way. And then, she kind of welcomed me into their family because she also knew that my life was chaotic. And so she also knew that my mom oftentimes didn't feed us, so she'd invite me to stay over for meals, um, often. Um, and like she became really cool towards me, after she accepted and realized that even though I was 10, I was not preying upon her kid. I had no interest in anything like that because that had been done to me, and I was not going to do that to somebody else. So anyway, um I've had lots of friends throughout the years as I've gotten older. Um but I found that there's a lot of people that like to say that you're a friend, that want your friendship because they want things from you, not because they really want to be your friend. Um, Unfortunately, I have been hurt so many times. Um, Not in the same ways I was in school when kids would pretend to be my friend and then, in front of everybody, like tease me and do, awful things and like literally just break my heart right there in the middle of class. But in different ways, like because now that I was older and I had a job, I had money, so I was able, or I was making an allowance when I went to live with my dad. So certain people, because they knew that I'm a kind person and I had have issues with boundaries, which I am working on because um, I was taught for so many years that I didn't have the right to say no, and I didn't have the right to stick up for myself. And so I am working on all that now. So it's a little bit harder to take advantage of me now, but I was just very easy to be manipulated into buying things for people, even though that money was for something that I really wanted or needed. Or a lot of times I had no problem, you know, if they would have just asked nicely instead of played mind games with me, I would have just given them the money had they asked nicely, because I didn't have a problem, you know, giving money if I had it, especially if they needed something. And so I got used in different ways, and I just learned that just because somebody says they're your friend doesn't necessarily mean that they really are. And it is devastating when you've given everything you have into a relationship with somebody that you think really likes you back, honestly, for who you are, not for what you have or what you can do for them. And then when you finally discover that your whole friendship was them using you, it destroys a piece of you. It breaks your trust for the next person. And honestly, by the time I found my new current best friend, I had given up on ever finding another friend that I would ever call a best friend. Because I had been broken so badly, especially by the last friendship I had. I really loved that friend with my whole heart. We had been friends for 10 years. Um, I had watched her children grow up. I had, you know, I had done a lot for them, and it wasn't just a one-sided thing. Like she also gave back, so it felt like a real friendship, give and take, yada yada. And I think at the beginning it really was a real friendship up until her and her husband divorced, and then things started getting, obviously hard for her. And then she ended up losing her home and had to move in with these really weird people she didn't really know, and they were very controlling, and then everything just really changed from then on. And then so for the last like 2 years of our friendship, it just went to crap. And she just started being a completely different person and lying to me by saying everything was fine, because like I knew something was wrong. And our the promise we made at the beginning of our friendship was, if anything ever happens to where we're not happy with the other one, or we need to talk about something, no matter how hard or uncomfortable it is, we do it. Because, I am a person that believes honesty is the most important thing in any relationship. My marriage is solely based on honesty. The that is the majority of the basis, the foundation of our relationship was built on honesty and truth. No matter how hard it is for the other one to hear what the other one is thinking or feeling. Like, we have said some pretty, not meaning to be mean or spiteful, but we have said some pretty hard things to each other. Because if you're not honest, if you hide things, if you harbor anger and ill will towards the person and you don't talk about it, that festers inside of you. And then eventually the smallest little argument blows up into something really big, and the other one's just like, what the heck did I do? Like, why are you so mad at me for this? And it's really because you've been holding on to all this stuff for so long. So if you don't have a foundation of trust from the beginning, you have nothing. You are building a relationship on sand, and you need to build it on concrete. So I went into this friendship with her thinking I was building a relationship on concrete, because I've had too many friendships built on sand, and it just crumbled underneath me. And again, I think that she was a real friend up until the last year or two. And then she just started hiding things and lying, and it just was really, really bad. And the way she ended the friendship was very painful to me. And I didn't think I was ever, ever going to let anybody else back into my heart. I didn't think I was ever going to say I had a best friend again. I wasn't even sure I wanted another friend to begin with. Excuse me. And then this sweet person came into my life. And it was a very unusual way that she came into my life. And it's actually kind of funny. But I did not think that that little brief interaction we had was actually going to build something. Like, it was something so funny, and you know also kind of not, but you'd have to know the story, and I don't have enough time to talk about it because my phone is saying, Ronnie, you got the time. So, but she knows, and I know she's gonna watch this and she'll remember, and I'm sure she'll understand what I'm talking about. But I really honestly didn't think that that was going to lead to anything other than just a random comment from somebody. But she kept commenting on things, and we started talking, and eventually, one thing led to another, to another, to another, and before I knew it, she was my friend. And I was like, I got to be careful, because it's like I don't want another best friend, because I've had too many people, too many people hurt me saying they're my best friend, and but eventually she earned that title of my best friend, and we have been best friends for, what is it, 2 or 3 years? I don't remember exactly, my memory issues, but It's been a bit now. And I really enjoy her. I enjoy the friendship we have. I enjoy her sense of humor, her kindness. I enjoy that she tries to better herself every day. She tries she she knows she has flaws like we all do. But what I admire about her is she's willing to do things to try to fix her flaws. She's always trying to learn about herself and about others, and she's done special things to learn about what it's like to be abused, and she's actually taken the time to learn how to support me and be there for me and um, validate me and take time to listen to me no matter how much I ramble on with my long ass videos. And everything that she has done for me just means so much more than I think she's ever going to know. And I'm trying not to cry. um, I know that I think of her very much like a sister, and I love her very deeply. And I feel like if this friendship ever ends, I am done. I am never going to accept another friendship because I just won't be able to. Because I think this is the most authentic friendship I've ever really had. Because this friend actually is trying to do things to help me instead of finding ways to use me like other people. She has apologized for things that she has said without realizing that it was hurtful, and that meant so much to me that she, because I knew she meant well, so I tried not to take it personal. But sometimes when people mean well and they don't know what they're really, they don't really understand the situation, they kind of say things that kind of hurt, a little bit, uh, or whatever, because they don't fully understand what's going on, and so they think that they're helping and they're really trying to help, and there's no malice that they mean. They don't mean to do anything that's upsetting or hurtful or whatever. But she has called herself on those things, and she has apologized to me, and she has taken the steps to not redo those things, and to work on bettering herself. And I've I've never had a friendship like that before in my entire life. And I just I didn't think it was possible to have a friendship like this. And it just really, really means a lot to me. And anyway, um, so that is the friendship aspect of what I've been through. As far as relating to people, um, that has always been difficult as well because, um, again, as a kid, stop, my eyes are, they just won't stop watering now. Anyway, as a child, I was taught that I had no voice. I had no rights. I had to do what was said and told. I had to accept what was happening to me. And so r- interacting with other people, I'm not talking about people my age, I'm talking about just people in general, was always, I'm going to say, odd and hard for me because I didn't trust adults. I didn't trust anybody as a kid. Um, but I also was told that I don't have the right to stand up for myself, or I don't have the right to defend myself. I don't have the right to say no. I don't have the right to say, you're making me uncomfortable, or I don't like what you're saying, or I had no ability to be a person that could express myself. And so these people that came into my life, and not everybody, obviously, not everybody was, of ill intention. Not everybody wanted to hurt me, but you know, because of the amount of things that had happened, because of the extreme abuse that was going on every day, and I didn't trust adults. I didn't trust people. So when I met people, I was shy. I was standoffish. I tried to be kind and polite, but I also didn't want to get, like, I tried to stay away from people as well because I didn't know who I could and who I couldn't trust. Now, I did develop the ability, like I still have now, where I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's not like I'm able to read your mind or anything, but like I can get the feeling when I meet somebody, usually I can get the feeling if they're well-meaning and good people, or if they're hiding things, or if they're just straight up bad people pretending to be good. So, and having this ability, which I know I learned as a kid because I had to learn this like very, very quickly. That has saved me from a lot of bad, bad situations, and just lost where I was going. I freaking hate ADHD. Give me a second. Let's see if my brain will allow me to remember what I was saying. Oh, okay. So I, I somehow I somehow can tell just by meeting someone basically what they're about ish, to a pretty good extent. Um Obviously I can't really do that online. I can't really know what a person really is like online, unfortunately, because anybody can be anybody and say anything they want online. Um I have to be like in person meeting the person to be able to feel this, whatever it is that tells me if this is a good person or not. But um, I forget why I even brought that up. And I'm trying to remember why I brought that up. Um, those of you out there that have ADHD, I'm sure you know this struggle is real and it sucks. Actually, if you have ADHD, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know how you're dealing with it. Um, I don't remember where I was going with whatever I was saying. I'm sorry. So anyway, um, oh yeah, okay. I learned early on. I learned early on if I felt there was something off about the person that I was meeting, that I definitely stayed away from them. I didn't talk to them much. I did everything I could to be polite like I was raised to be, but also not allow myself to be in a situation where I'm alone with the person or whatever. But if I got a feeling that they were a good person, then I would be more open and uh, more trusting. And usually I did okay. Usually I read the person right, but sometimes, I made a mistake. But anyway, um, just mm, having relationships with people, adults especially, was challenging just because I didn't trust them. And um, I mean, obviously, I have ADHD, so I'm already odd. Um, odd. That's being kind. Um, I also have CPTSD and PTSD, which I've likely had literally since early childhood. Um, that also makes your ability to be normal around people uh, different. Um, and along with the ADHD, I also have emotional irregularity. I don't know if I ever say that correctly or not, but anyway, so I've always been an extremely emotional person, um, and so I I would I would oftentimes get hurt over small stupid things, or I would get mad really quick, or excuse me, or just I had emotions I couldn't control, and so that also complicated things. And just basically, in a nutshell, having normal relationships when I was younger was extremely hard because of everything that I had been through and was taught by adults around me that people cannot be trusted and people are mean and cruel and want something physically from me. And I tried to avoid as many people as I could. And then, of course, I had the kids at school that were doing their cruel, awful, horrible things. And so, like, I was just surrounded by meanness and cruelty and violence. And that just greatly impacted how I saw the world and saw people and reacted to people. And now, as I am older and I have gone through a lot of therapy and I've done a lot of healing, um and now I'm actually working with others to, like, other victims and survivors, and I speak in my community, and um I do all this stuff now. Not only is that continuing to heal me and help me, I'm also helping other people, and I hope that I'm also helping them to heal in some ways that they need, because um it's just I I really I it's complicated. I really want to um help people to heal and um just get to a point where they can let go of things that they have been through. I mean, you're never going to forget them, obviously, but if you can get to a point where you can talk about the things and it doesn't just destroy you or make you just so completely emotional that you shut down and whatnot, if you can get to a place where you can openly talk about your stuff and it doesn't break you even more, then that's a good sign that you are on the right path to healing. And that's what I hope to help people um, to be able to do, because that's where I am. I can talk about almost everything that I have been through, and not let it destroy me. Sometimes I'll tear up. Sometimes I have to take a little bit, a couple breathers. Um, but I used to literally sob my eyes out just talking about anything from my past because it was just always so overwhelming to talk about. And I've been talking about my story and helping and advocating for about 6 years now, and I've gotten to a point where I can talk about almost anything without getting overly emotional. And um, so now my relationships with other people are better. Um, and now people say I'm way too trusting and I share too much. And I tend to agree. Um, but I'm still learning. I'm learning boundaries. I'm learning, I'm learning how to be I'm learning things I should have learned as a kid at how to be when I became an adult. But because I didn't have people to teach me how to be and how to act and how to relate to people and how to function like a normal person, I learned things in the way I had to. And now I'm unlearning the negative stuff and trying to learn the positive things. And that takes time. So, I've made a lot of progress, but I still do things a little bit, a little bit wrong or a little bit intense or whatever because I'm trying to find the happy medium of, you know, just how much do you share with the person you just met versus, you know, I don't know because I went from not talking to people to now it's just like I'm an open book and I will literally just like basically word vomit everything about my life and what I've been through. And I can't really control it. And I've been told it's part of the ADHD and because of, you know, not being heard my entire life. And now as an adult, I'm able to be heard and I'm I over explain or I overshare because it I didn't get to have a voice when I was a kid and now I have a voice and now I don't know when to shut up basically in a nutshell. But anyway, um I really hope that this was helpful and that I answered the questions um um good enough. I don't know. I hope that I did. I hope that I answered them in the ways that you were asking me about them. And thank you for being in my life and my best friend. And I love you so much. And as for everybody else, I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope that you stay safe. I hope that you are safe. And if you're not, that you can find safety. I hope um, that you have a wonderful week, and I will be back again sometime soon. Until then.